Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T, and if true crime is your jam and like me, you enjoy delving into unsolved cases, trying to figure out who done it, please consider subscribing. Also, if you enjoy my videos, please hit that like button. Good day, my true crime friends. Hope you are having a fantastic Monday. Did you guys happen to see JLR's interview and hike with one of the Wells neighbors in Beech Creek? I know a lot of people don't like JLR, but I've been finding his treks around Rogersville and Beech Creek fascinating. His recent video where he chats with a 34-year-old Beech Creek resident named Brandon offers an insider's view of the undulating terrain spotted with ponds and creeks, of the hollers, and how one holler gives way to another holler and another beyond it. There's also a plethora of abandoned sheds and houses, some still filled with their owners' belongings and furnishing. It's like they just got up one day and walked away. Spooky. You can also see how thick the brush is and how difficult it would be to spot a child's body, even if it were simply lying on the ground, disguised under a brush pile. It drives home how much wildlife exists out there, from deadly copperhead snakes to coyotes to deers to bears. Between the humid summer climate and the wild animals, it would seem to be a place where a body, at least in the summer, would break down quickly, leaving skeletal remains that would likely end up scattered because of scavengers. Clearly, the job of finding a body out there is a daunting one. Despite seeing how vast the land is and how many areas may not have been searched, I still felt hope watching JLR follow this Brandon fellow through the woods. Brandon and his stepmother were so kind and welcoming to JLR. Brandon immediately offered him a tour of the Holler and said how much he and his stepmom care about Summer and her case. It made Beech Creek seem not like such a hostile place after all. It showed that there are good, kind people in the Holler there. People who care about the missing 5-year-old. Brandon told JLR that he's been back living on the land his father grew up on for about 8 months, and he's been making it his mission to learn the land, to see where one property ends and another begins, to follow the many trails out in the woods. As he walks, Brandon carries a gun and is accompanied by his dog Lucy. In the 8 months that Brandon's been living in Beech Creek, he's met many of his neighbors. He mentioned that people living in Beech Creek are different from other people, that they live there because they value their privacy and want to live their lives without the prying eyes of others, that they're wary of Yankees. Some cook moonshine back in the Holler. Some grow marijuana. Everyone respects everyone else's right to do what they please, as long as they're doing it on their own land. And those seem to be the top 2 rules of the Holler. 1, don't step on anyone else's property. Don't even put a toe in the driveway. And 2, leave people alone. In fact, during the hike JLR took with Brandon, one guy came out and told them to stay off his property and to respect the purple stakes which mark his land. Brandon also said that the cops don't often come out to Beech Creek, and we've heard that before from Jody Sue Brown. He also said that blacks don't go there, which I've suspected all along. I'm not saying that everyone in Beech Creek is racist, but it's clearly an enclave of proud white Americans who want to live around other proud white Americans. And we cannot underestimate the fact that the KKK was founded in Tennessee and that Southern pride runs deep in Beech Creek. It's a land of rebels, people who don't want to live in an HOA community with rules. Brandon also told JLR that weird stuff happens in the woods at night there.
I'm gonna tell you this, if you want, you're more welcome to come down here at night. I'm gonna tell you this. There's something down. There's some. It might be just coyotes. It might just be deer. It might just be, you know what I mean, bear. But there's weird is on in these woods at night. During dark. It's spooky out here.
If you didn't hear that, Brandon said that the woods move at dark, and that if you don't believe in ghosts, staying out there after sundown might change your mind. Whether the woods stir because of ghosts or because of wildlife, Brandon wasn't exactly sure, but he made it clear that Beech Creek at night is scary. Brandon also talked about hearing gunshots all the time, and often way back in the holler.
Do you hear gunshots?
Oh yeah, I hear gunshots all the time. Even them, where that pond is, they shoot. My uncle, we shoot sometimes, but not at night.
Yeah.
But at night, sometimes way back in there, like, I've heard gunshots, and we don't know where they come from.
So it sounds like if someone shot someone else back in the holler, no one would call the police and report hearing gunshots because they hear them all the time, at least during the day, and sometimes at night. And I'm sure just as Brandon said he shot a copperhead the other day, some of those shots may be people killing snakes, but you would never know, would you? In my neighborhood, if a gunshot is heard, people call the police. Brandon also mentioned that the police don't get a lot of cooperation among those living in Beech Creek because people are afraid of getting in trouble with the law. It's like the ancient Japanese proverb, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. In other words, keep your mouth shut. Brandon also talked about good old boys, the good people in Beech Creek, who may at first be wary of a stranger poking around in the woods, but who, once they know you and know your kin, they will embrace you, give you rides in the back of their pickup trucks, ask you about your mother. Good old boys just want to fish and hunt. As JLR and Brandon hiked through the woods, they came upon a small church at one point, so Beech Creek even has its own church. Here are some other takeaways from Brandon. He said someone in here knows something, and he said that the well's closest neighbors likely have knowledge.
Dude, it's a neighbor or it's them that know. Somebody on this road knows for I guarantee you. I'm a betting man. I bet everything I got that her parents or the next door neighbor knows. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that dude crazy always sitting there watching. You know what I mean?
It turns out that Brandon also knows Fred Hill. Brandon's stepmother didn't seem to like Fred Hill, but Brandon said that Hill may tell wild stories, but he knows all the gossip that goes around, and that there's likely truth in what Hill says. He also made it clear that in his opinion, Fred Hill is not an essayer of children. Brandon was adamant about that. However, Brandon also said he had a falling out with Fred.
Maybe I'll just exchange info with you and we'll do Fred Hill another day.
Okay, that's fine. But look, I've known him since I moved down here. Acquaintance, I don't talk to him that much anymore. You know what I mean? We had a little bit of falling out on some trading shit. But I know this, he ain't child molester, he ain't.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Look, he might be back in the sticks, secluded, and come up with his own wild theories, like everybody's entitled to, but nah, he didn't do nothing with no baby.
Brandon also told a story about Andy Bernard. Apparently some women in the neighborhood were near the Wells property and near the Bernard property, including Brandon's stepmother, and Andy Bernard allegedly was out there with a piece of wood and was threatening the women to get them off his land. Interesting. According to Brandon, everyone in his family thinks the Wells know what happened to Summer and that they are responsible for it. He also said everyone's praying Summer is still alive and that maybe someone's hiding her from DCS. Brandon said that if the parents knew Summer was deceased, they'd be crying. Now, I'm not sure I agree with Brandon on that one. Brandon also talked about people in Beech Creek raising fighting gamecock and said that there are secret societies where people still engage in cockfighting. Scary. If you don't know what cockfighting is, let me give you a brief history. It's an age-old practice in which 2 or more specially bred birds are placed in an enclosed pit to fight, usually to the death. Some people find this blood sport entertaining, and they bet on which bird will win. The end of a fight usually results in the death of one or both birds. The whole practice, in my opinion, is barbaric. According to the Humane Society, cockfighting is often associated with other criminal activities, such as illegal gambling, drug trafficking, gang activity, and illegal weapons sales. Federal investigations have uncovered international drug cartels running sophisticated cockfighting operations as a means to distribute heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, and opioids across the United States. Does cockfighting actually go down in the Beech Creek area? Well, in 2013, 7 men were fined $50 for being spectators at a cockfight in Hawkins County. The charge was a Class C misdemeanor. On the afternoon of January 19, 2013, Hawkins County deputies responded to a tip that there were about 50 people present at a cockfight on Poiree Valley Road near the intersection of Price Road north of Rogersville. By the time the police arrived, the event was over. Only a handful of people were there when the deputies arrived. Detective Chris Price of the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, who was the charging officer, told the Times News in January of 2013 that based on statements he received from some defendants, the cockfight rated January 19th is an ongoing event that takes place at multiple venues. Brandon also said that a lot of people don't like Frank Light, but he didn't elaborate. Light, you may recall, is an RSO who lives in Beech Creek. Brandon also mentioned Wild Bill. Wild Bill is, I believe, the same man that H brought up to Chris McDonough of the interview room during his interview. Allie Harris and H talked about Billy and referred to him as an old drunk who has the hots for Grandis. Brandon said that Don was lying about Wild Bill when he said that he was up on the property on June 15, 2021, trying to touch the little kids. Well, Brandon got that wrong because it was actually H who said that, and I believe H had Billy mixed up with someone else. According to Brandon, Wild Bill is an old-time Beech Creeker who would never do anything to little kids. Brandon also mentioned that divers were brought out to search ponds in Beech Creek, and that searchers put orange ribbons at the entrances to hollers that they searched. He also said that Don Wells came down to his family's land about 6 or 7 months ago, but Brandon said he better not come back now because he's not welcome. Brandon was also aware that Don Wells really isn't from Beech Creek, that he doesn't have kin there or roots there. So this underscores once again that Don and Candace were considered outsiders in Beech Creek and were not exactly popular among the locals. Along the hike, Brandon pointed out a porta potty that was nestled in some brush on his father-in-law's land. Apparently there are 3 porta potties on the land, and the father-in-law got them free or something. He also showed JLR some footprints in the mud, but they didn't really film the footprints carefully or talk about them. And I don't think they were small children's footprints, but it was interesting to see that, yes, a footprint does stay in that mud. Note that as JLR hiked with Brandon, in the background, I counted 3 red trucks on various properties. It appears that there are a lot of red trucks in Beech Creek. If you haven't watched JLR's video, I highly recommend it, and I'll leave a link in the description. I'm going to leave it at that, so until the next time on Bed Crime Stories. Hey, you know the drill. Please hit that like button.